Hello and welcome to the third episode of How Would You Edit This? We are continuing on with the wildlife edition of this series, and today's subject is this mouth-watering bear. And don't forget to follow along with this edit by downloading this exact image with the link in the description, and don't forget to post your edits to hashtag SJMPhotos88 on Instagram, and I will review your posts in a follow-up video. So, welcome. If you're new around here, thank you so much. We do a lot of Lightroom tutorials, and we do follow along edits. So again, like I said, you have this exact image in the description, so please go down, download it, and see what you can come up with, and hashtag SJMPhotos88, and post your entries, and I will review them in the next episode. So again, thank you very much. My name is Stephen Morris, and today our subject is this mouth-watering bear. I caught this bear. Oh, I didn't catch this bear. It makes it sound like I was wrestling it. No, I went to the zoo. I went to the zoo and well, it was a lovely day actually. There was a lot of tigers, a lot of bears, but this bear in particular really stood out to me. You can just see on the sort of left-hand side of the image there's a tree, and it just kind of, I love how the foreground of the tree is blurred, and then this wild beast is just gazing upon me with his carcass in between his feet. Even though I do like this image, there are a few little hints and tricks and techniques that we will be using today. We are going to try and make this image just pop a little bit more by utilizing the hue and saturation, possibly the luminance sliders as well. So follow along with me. So let's jump straight in. So what we're going to do first, the first thing, let's just see if we can take care of that temp. I believe the white balance did a fantastic job, so I'm not going to play with anything of that. The histogram is looking quite good. So we always go to the highlights. My workflow, I always deal with the highlights, but on this occasion I will not be playing around with the highlights just for a second, because again, it's a very cloudy day. There's not a lot of highlights that are blown out in this image, so I think we're okay. So we're going to go straight to the shadows, because there is a particular effect that I'm trying to get to, but you'll see it by the end of the video, so make sure you stick around for the end result of this. And again, don't forget to post your entries at hashtag SJMPhotos88. So we're going to bring those shadows up and get this bear popping, get this bear screaming at us. Come on. So we are going, let's go up to 70, 78, 79, perfect. And then with that, I'm going to counteract that with a little bit of contrast, just a little bit ups. There we go. I'm trying to use different words because I watched my last video and I say ever so slightly too many times. So I'm going to try use my different vocabularies. So I'm going to go to the blacks, and I'm going to bring these blacks down, because bringing the blacks down makes the subject stand out from the image a little bit more. So, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to emphasize the subject and take it away from its surroundings. So he is our subject, and he is our hero of the image for today. Next thing is the clarity. I didn't go too crazy last time on this slider, but today, because of the texture in the bear's fur, I believe we can get some more definition out of his character by just sliding it up, not ever so slightly, I nearly said it then, but up to around 43. And we're going to leave it there. Vibrance and saturations, I'm happy with where we are. I'm just going to press Y on the board, because it makes sense just to double check, see how far you're coming away from the before. You want to come away from it in subtle movements. You can already see on his belly. His belly's really starting to stand out with the texture. And I don't want to lose this tree effect here, but when we come to crop it, I may very well change my mind altogether and crop it to 1:1, but we'll see. We're doing this together, we're learning as we go. So I'm going to press Y, I'm happy with that, and we're going to go down to our tone curves, the magical line of the tones. So I'm going to bring the shadows up. I'm going into a little bit of a grainy kick at the moment. I like my images quite grainy, but in this particular instance I'm just going to bring it up to around about here. There we go. I think that's okay. Okay, and now I'm going to play with my midtones. The midtones, I'm going to drop them quite dramatically. I'm going to drop them really far. Because like I said, there's an effect I'm going for. Because bears are kind of, you know, coupled with, you know, the woods and dark and mysterious. I'm trying to make the scene around him feel like he's part of, you know, a very grainy day. You know that bear in Revenant? I like the cinematography in that film, and I'm trying to go for that effect. If you go and watch the film, you'll see what I'm talking about. Even though the midtones have gone quite far down, we are going to do some alterations on the color and the highlights, and we're going to use the adjustment brush today and the radial filter to bring out what we intend to do. So stay with it. That's the whole point of this. You will see the image go very, very odd. And you'll be going, Steve, what the hell are you doing there? It looks absolutely rubbish. You ruined the image. Trust me. Stay with me. You've seen the thumbnail. You know where we're going with this. So just stick with it. And as you can see, I've just brought the highlights down. So I've increased the shadows a little bit to get the grainy effect. Midtones and highlights have been dropped at this time. With that said, now's the time. Sorry, that was my phone. I'm going to crop the image. I know I said I like this tree, but I believe I like to focus on his head. There's a lot going on in this image, and I have to settle for something. And I keep going to his face. My eye is instantly drawn to his face. I'm going to capitalize on his face. So we're going to make it a 1x1, and we're going to make it quite intrusive. Sorry, bear, we're going to make you quite intrusive. Okay, as you can see, my focus instantly goes to the front of his face. So I'm going to put his face on the bottom third of the crop itself, and I want to emphasize how big he is and let the mind actually wonder how big he is by actually not keeping his shoulder in the shot. Because if I leave it like this, you can see on the left, if I just press done, we don't know how big he is, and that to me is amazing. That to me just lets the mind sort of wonder how big this beast is. You've got no frame of reference. He just goes off the shot. He could be massive, and I like that. So we're going to stick with this crop. Next thing, you can see the color. The only color that's coming from this image is from the scene itself. So roughly about 2/3 of this image is in vegetation. So you've got the nice dark green leaves at the back, coupled with the light green leaves and grass at the front. So we can do some alterations in the HSL sliders, and we can really bring them out. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to hue, and this first slider, I'm actually going to use the red slider. We're going to go up because in his fur, believe it or not, there is bits of red. So we're going to bring that up to 16. In that fur as well is some orange, and I want to bring that up as well because I don't want the scene to drown him out. I want them both to complement each other. So we're going to bring that up as well. And then we go down to the green, and obviously that's going to affect all the background and the foreground of the image. I'm going to bring the greens down because I don't want the foreground. Even though we can make the colors really pop, we can bring the colors down ever so slightly. There we go, I said it. Well, it means, you know, I am bringing it down ever so slightly. We're bringing it down to 13. The reason for that is because I don't want the grass and vegetation to overshadow the hero of a subject. I just want a nice sort of complementary color in the background that goes along with the bear. I think I'm happy with those colors. I'm just going to increase the same colors in the saturation side of things. So we went to red. Let's bring the red up to around about 20. Now you can see his color just starting to sort of pop there now. And also the orange and green. I'm going to bring the orange up as well. Again, this coupled with his fur. I'm going to bring this one up to 33. Again, his fur is really coming together now. Let's press Y. You see, it just gives it more texture. We're coming away, the bear's coming away from the scene. I've kept the colour, and yet the texture and the bear itself is now becoming more prominent in our image. And that is our focus. I will be printing this picture, so I want to get it spot on. The greens, I am going to decrease the saturation of them. Again, it didn't do too much, but subtly your eyes will be drawn away from it and just focus more on the bear. Now we've done all the fine tuning of the image itself, we can now do the fun stuff. The fun stuff, that is Lightroom, so we can put the effects on of the adjustment brush and we can play around with the radial filter. And this is where we shine. This is where images shine, in my opinion. We can always do the sliders, you know, back and forth, but it's where the radial filters and where your artistic nature comes out, and you can go crazy with this. So first things first, I'm going to go crazy with the radial filter. The radial filter is going to go round his face, and I just want to make his head pop a little bit. And we're just going to bring the exposure down, which again, as we know, that just affects the outside. Again, it's all in the name of bringing this subject out of the image. So I think that'll do for a second. Let's press Y. So already we can see his face come away from the image, and now it gives more of a more dramatic effect. Press Y again to get rid of that. I'm happy with it. The adjustment brush, we're going to go a little bit crazy on this one. Again, this bit's all down to personal preference. I'm going to utilize the background color, the foreground color. I'm also going to make his face pop a little bit more by maybe adding some clarity. I don't know. We can see where we're going to go, but let's just start with the background. Let's start with the background and let's color. Ooh, no. Why did that start? Oh, okay, the exposure was already there. Why did that happen? So what we want to do, we just want to color the background in, because I just want to change this color. I like the color that's already there, but I think we can make it better. Again, you can take as much time as you want on this one, and my focus here is just to bring the tint down into its natural color, and I think that'll do. Again, just subtle movements here. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. Yes, there we go. You can just see where I was going with that. Next thing I'm going to take care of, I'm just going to press done and do a new adjustment brush and take care of the foreground grass. This one here, I'm just going to bring the exposure down. Again, my subject is the focal point in our image, so I'm just going to make sure that nothing will outshine him. That's what we're trying to do. We just don't want to outshine him. He's our subject, so let's just bring it down. There we go. That's all we need. Little subtle movements, not affecting the face. We'll do something with the face in a minute, but again, it's now popping. It's now popping. Whether you like it or not, it's popping. I'm going to do another adjustment brush. Again, there's no limits here. Your artistic creativity can start exploring where you didn't even know you had any. You know, the first thing I said was I didn't have any highlights to play with. Well, I've got some highlights in his face, as you can see, in his fur, in his snout. It's quite blown out, and for some reason it's not bolding well with me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to reduce the highlights altogether and just see where it takes us. Again, I could always do the adjustments and maybe make it easier to brush on, but this is how I do it. Okay, I'm going to take the highlights down. There's a reason for that. For a second, I'm going to go to the clarity. I'm going to bring that clarity up. I'm going to bring it up all the way to 40. Now look what's happened. The texture is now prominent. There's no blown out whites. The highlights are not blown out. The texture is there. There will be a more focal point in a minute. I'm going to take care of the eye, but next thing, I'm just going to increase the exposure on the face, just like that. I'm going to press done, and I'm also going to use another adjustment brush on his nose. And with this one, I just want to highlight it. Not highlight it, I just want to bring up the exposure. There we go. That's all I was after. I just wanted that little glare in his nose. And lastly, thank God for this. Lastly, we're going to zoom in on his face. On his eye, and we're just going to make the eye pop because it got lost in the shade. We're going to bring the temp up and hopefully the exposure as well. We may have to go quite big on this one, so I'm just going to paint. That's all I want for a second, and I'm going to bring up the temp and make it more of a yellowy orangey color. Okay, I'm not liking that for a second, so I'm what I'm going to do, I'm going to press Alt. The brush goes to a negative, and then I can brush away what I don't like. There we go. That's all I wanted. Now you will see if I zoom out. Now look at that. Look where we've come from a very dull, cute picture of a bear to a rugged, more wild beast of a man-eating predator. Is he a predator? But anyway, well, that was fun, and I hope you followed along, and I cannot wait to see what you've come up with. So this is what I did. What do you think I should have done? Again, I hand it over to you. The link of this image is in the description. Download the image. It's a raw file, and just go at it. And show me your images. Hashtag SJMPhotos88 on Instagram. So thank you for joining me on another episode of How Would You Edit This? I've been Stephen Morris, and there's only one last thing left to do. Press Y on your keyboard to see how far you've come. Press Y again to let go of the past. Double tap L to accept your future. I've been Stephen Morris. Thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe and like. It means a hell of a lot. Thank you very much.